Welcome. You're listening to Coffee Break with Purdue Engineering, a podcast production from the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. In this podcast series, we discuss the many programs, majors, and opportunities found in Purdue Engineering through conversational interviews with staff, faculty, alumni, and current students. We hope you enjoy our show and it helps answer some of your questions about what it's like to be an engineering student at Purdue. Morning, Nikki. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
So you're in Environmental and Ecological Engineering, right?
Yes.
Okay. And just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are some of your hobbies? Where are you from?
Absolutely. So I live in Monticello, Indiana, originally from Orland Park, Illinois. And some of my hobbies are really doing anything outdoors. I love hiking, biking. Midwest isn't the greatest place for that, but
Yeah.
I'm planning to move to Florida after graduation.
Okay.
But yeah.
Nice and warm weather all year round down there. Brian, you're in Florida,
I'm
right?
in Florida, and the weather's warm.
Yeah, that's what I would like.
Yeah. What was your journey like getting to Purdue?
So getting to Purdue was a little bit different for me. My pathway was, I started in environmental science, going to community college, took a few classes and realized that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I did the transfer route, which is definitely a difficult route when getting into Purdue.
It's not an easy one, that's for sure.
Not at all. So I kind of was looking at different careers I would want to do after college, realized environmental engineering was a better path. So from there, I got in contact with Purdue, the environmental engineering advisor, as well as OFE, and kind of made my plan to transfer from Ivy Tech to Purdue. And there were little hiccups along the way, but I eventually made it in, and I'm here now.
And we're glad you made it.
Yes.
Yep.
I know that you probably wish that Ivy Tech had the actual official partnership with Purdue to be able to get here for sure,
Yes.
and not the ambiguity of the whole transfer deal.
Exactly, yes. It was more difficult for sure when I transferred, so I would not recommend doing that route if you can avoid it, but it worked out for me. So.
Yep. And so, welcome to this week's episode where we will be discussing, obviously, Purdue's Environmental and Ecological Engineering program, which I might use the abbreviation EEE if I slip up. That's what that means. I'm one of your hosts, Calvin Given. I'm a current graduate student in electrical and computer engineering from Lakewood, Colorado.
Yep, and I'm Bryan and Calvin, a current sophomore in electrical engineering from Washington, D.C., and now live in Miami, Florida, but now live in West Lafayette. And some things I do on campus, I'm a part of NSBE, MEP. I work in the Office of Future Engineers, and I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And this week, we are joined by Nikki.
Yeah, so we know you're in environmental and ecological engineering, but what exactly else do you do around campus, whether that's for fun or academically related?
So my campus involvement, I've done a little bit of different things while here at Purdue. One big one for me was Engineers Without Borders, where I was project manager for a water system project where we got to help design, build, and implement a water system in Rwanda, and I was able to travel to this, and it was a really great experience. There's a lot of other different experiences you can get involved with similar to that, which is something I love about Purdue. I'm also a EEE ambassador, and I do research here on campus. So that's kind of more of my on-campus involvement. Other than that, I love going to the sporting events here. So basketball game, football games, are a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, both of which have great energy, and I enjoy going to as well.
Yes.
How was going to Rwanda and, like, the different culture? Like, how was that for you?
So it was a really great experience. So being project manager, I was the point of contact for our partners. So it was great having that connection before traveling. And then going there, you really just immersed yourself in a different culture. And, you ate the same foods they did. You got to meet the local communities.
Yeah.
And they were the friendliest people I have ever met to this day. So it was definitely a great experience.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. How long was that study abroad opportunity again?
So that was a Maymester.
Okay.
So the Maymesters here are those 2-week programs right after the end of the semester. So we do that every year for Engineers Without Borders to help implement the project. And then throughout the year, we have meetings and then bi-weekly meetings with our project partners.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into a little bit about environmental and ecological engineering. And so how would you briefly describe the major? Like, what can you do in it, concentrations, things to get involved in?
Absolutely. So for me, I noticed that environmental engineering is very broad if you want to be in that environmental field. There are similar engineering majors here on campus, but for me, it was looking at the different things you could do. If you want to be in environmental engineering, you can work with air quality, hazardous waste, water treatment. You can work with resilience, which is the area I am going into and would like to stay in, where you're working with, after these wildfires, hurricanes, these major disaster events, how do you basically find solutions to the impact they have on communities and looking at that public health side. So EEE does have 5 or 6, I think, different concentrations or pathways, I should say. You don't necessarily have to do any of the pathways, but they're there for guidance when you're first starting. Like, hey, maybe I do want to do classical engineering and work on water systems specifically, maybe do industrial and work on that air pollution and work in companies. So there's definitely a broad range of what you can do in EEE.
Yeah, and then I guess how did you decide to pursue EEE? I mean, I know you did ecological sciences through another school, but how did you know when you came to Purdue or when you were applying to other schools and stuff that you wanted to do EEE at Purdue?
So that decision was actually through the help of OFE. I was talking to David here a lot, and to me, EEE is just what stuck out. I didn't really look at any other options, but he did give me some of those other options, like the agricultural engineering, biological engineering options. So I did look into those, and then in the end, when I saw kind of looking at different job outcomes, EEE is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Looking into that consulting, and I think just how there are so many different pathways you can go, and I liked all of those pathways, so it was a good match for me.
That's good. We're so happy to have you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So glad you made it.
Me too.
I guess, are there companies that you hear oftentimes that EEE people end up interning at or working full-time at? I know we get questions like that a lot, so if you have a few big names that you could throw out there.
Right, absolutely. So I will say it is definitely not something like mechanical engineering where everyone wants to be at this company, but there are a lot of different companies. Some are larger, some are smaller, so there is your Arcadis, ACOM, a lot of those civil engineering companies. So that's where you'll do your big consulting work and design work, water systems. A company I'm talking to is Hazen & Sawyer, which is a smaller company, but they do water consulting, so looking at water quality, sea level rise, and it's more of an innovative firm instead of that structured, here's what you're doing every day. It's kind of looking at what will be the effects of climate change and how are we going to mitigate that.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess kind of with the course load of EEE, like what are some of the courses you've taken where you've kind of seen like real life stuff and I don't know, like what have interested you the most?
Right, so with EEE courses, I have a few favorites just because you learn so much. I would say my top ones are a disasters and emergency class with Professor Welton. And I do research with Professor Welton as well, which kind of got me on the track of what I want to do when I graduate. And in that class, you just learn about how different disasters affect communities and how engineers go in and can help with that, with water quality specifically, but also there's, the soil pollution. You need to get communities back together. So that was really interesting with a lot of guest speakers. And then there's also the environmental sustainability course, where you learn about all things sustainability, about food systems and how those can be more sustainable, about water and how that treatment can be better here in the U.S. as well as all across the world, which is interesting just to compare. And you just learn about real issues going on, fracking issues, and different pollution issues.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are there like lab-based courses at all where you're actually doing some kind of hands-on work?
Yeah, so ours are more, I would say, the hands-on work in the community rather than lab-based. You can do lab-based courses if you want to do that hydrology, hydraulics concentration. That wasn't really for me, but one thing that I did do was a class called Community Engineering, and this was also a really great course where you worked with stormwater systems and green infrastructure, and we implemented rain gardens throughout the West Lafayette and Lafayette communities. And this was great because you had community partners, so similar to that Engineers Without Borders, and we actually implemented stormwater infrastructure to help mitigate those pollution effects.
Yeah, and you're getting some real hands-on experience where you're actually making a difference in the community. That's super cool.
I was about to say a
Exactly
similar
that.
thing. It seems like Triple E does a lot of like in-community work and like just with that's amazing.
Yes, it's great. It's definitely, I would say it is engineering, but a big emphasis of it is being out in the community and just being hands-on with that.
That's really cool. And so I know you found your place in Tripoli,
Yes.
and did the pathways help with that at all, or did they at least like potentially give you some categories of classes to choose from when you were initially going in and saying, okay, do I want to do this pathway, or do I just want to do the general Tripoli degree?
Absolutely. So when you're first looking at the pathways, there are a list of classes that you could take for those, and career outcomes, like do this pathway if you want to work in a utility system, do this pathway if you want to work with stormwater. So it's helpful looking at that. Going into Tripoli, I didn't know exactly what I want to do when I graduate, so I started on that industrial sustainability pathway, which was looking more at that consulting. And I would say for the most part, I stayed on that with a little bit of variance. Once I took that disasters course was really when I realized what I want to do when I graduate. So I guess I would recommend definitely choosing a pathway, but not being glued to it, because those are just guidance. It's not a concentration. It's not something that will be on your degree when you graduate. So
Yeah, I guess speaking more on graduation and like kind of figuring out what you want to do, how did like different projects like research and just being a student in Tripoli affect that, and like how did that kind of help you?
Right. So I would definitely say it started with that disasters class where I realized what I want to do. And then with that, I did the research. So the research I'm doing is on wildfire recovery. So looking at different water systems. So we're in contact with 10 water systems and looking to contact more that have experienced wildfires and seeing how they recovered, how we can help that. So we've been doing multiple meetings with these systems just to help them with their recovery and learn about the contamination so that we can expedite this for future systems. So that kind of right there was like, okay, this is something I want to do in some way with that mitigation, recovery efforts, and seeing how, as an environmental engineer, you can be a big part of that. So that was really the big thing for me.
That's really cool. And did you just get involved with that through a program, through a class? How'd you get involved with that?
Right. So for that, I actually did that last summer through the SURF program here at Purdue, which is Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. And from there, I continued the research. I was able to travel to Anaheim, California last summer for the AWWA Water Conference. So just a big conference through American Water Works Association, and help present on some of that recovery research. So
You really are making worth of it being at Purdue.
thank you. I try to. There's a lot of opportunities, and just taking advantage of them has really helped me grow and learn where I want to be. So.
Yeah, and so are there any like projects in your courses that you've really enjoyed, thought were interesting, and want to talk about, share?
So I would say project specific, it would probably be that rain garden class I was telling you about, where we actually implemented that green infrastructure and talked with our community partners. I like a lot of that social side of engineering, as well as the research I'm doing, I would say.
That's awesome. And then I guess we're all very studious, and the engineering coursework is definitely rigorous, but do you have a life outside of classes?
Absolutely. So this is something I always try to say when talking to incoming students is engineering is difficult, but you still have free time. that was something I was worried about coming in because I didn't even know if I could do the engineering work coming from environmental science. That was never on my mind until all of a sudden it was. So I put a ton of work in, and I thought, I'm not going to have any free time during college, and I was very wrong. I had the time to be involved in different clubs that we talked about, the research. There is always time for extracurricular activities, so that's something I appreciated, as well as studying abroad. And really, you're only in college for a short amount of time. Take advantage of the opportunities, I would say.
Yeah, and it seems like you really have a love and passion for this major. And I guess my next question is, how has Purdue satisfied that drive and that love for this major? And how has it kind of prepared you for your future and setting up what your future is going to look like?
Absolutely. So the minute I came to Purdue, I knew this is where I want to be. So that right there, it was very different than my other college experience, being at community college, not really knowing what I want to do or, fitting in right. And coming to Purdue, it was great working at Office of Future Engineers here, as well as being in Triple E. It's a very tight-knit community, which is something I love because you go to classes with all the same people. You work together, you form study groups. A lot of us are great friends now. So that's something that I really just loved and has helped me, I would say, through the college experience, just because you have your different communities of people.
And it being such a little smaller major, did you ever feel like you didn't have enough resources, or did you always feel like you had enough, or if not more?
Yes, I never felt like I did not have enough resources. They have plenty of resources, as many as any other major would, even though we're smaller. So that's something that I found helpful. If you want to get involved, you can. Tammy, our advisor, is great and pretty much plans everything for Triple E. And if you were to go up to her and say you want to help with something, she would be happy to have you. And even just study resources, there's the office hours. Professors usually will have more than once because it's a smaller group of professors, which I like because you get to know them and you're kind of on a more personal level where you can go ask questions and get any help that you need.
Yeah, and I know you're kind of sitting through the big electrical engineering lectures right now.
Yep.
Do you feel like you're just lost in the crowd in the bigger major, Brian?
Honestly, no. Similar to what Nikki was saying, the TA system they have is really awesome. For most of my classes, there's an office, and I believe it's in the BHEE building, and it's literally just TAs that are there throughout basically a certain time frame, but it's a 4-hour window. So whenever I need help or anything, I just kind of seek that, and I get all the guidance and assistance I'd need.
Yeah, and that kind of tends to be the case across both the big majors, the small majors. You have the resources and opportunities to do pretty much whatever you want, but also the ability to personalize and create connections and get help when and if you're struggling.
Right, exactly.
And a big thing is those resources don't come to you. You have to go out and reach out to these resources.
Yes. Yep, good point there, Brian.
Yes, that is something. When I first came here, I used the supplemental instruction, and it was really helpful because I will say the rigor of the courses is definitely different than what I was used to, but using those resources helped a lot.
And another thing about a supplemental instruction, I like how it's it's not a supplement for the class, but it's kind of an additional thing for class. It kind of relies on you going to lecture. So it's not a way for you to just skip lecture.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's tons of great opportunities, and one of the biggest things difference-wise between high school and college is that, well, one, the academics are a step up for most people, but two, no one's going to hold your hand, force you to go to office hours, force you to go to a study hall, that kind of thing. You have to take initiative and do what you want and what you need to succeed. And that's one of the biggest things. Don't be afraid to ask for help just because you feel like it's going to make you look dumb. That's not the case. The people who are asking for help are the people who are doing the best in their courses.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome, and it sounds like you take great advantage of everything there is to do on campus, but is there a bunch of things or anything you do off campus that you have fun doing?
Absolutely. So one thing that I love is going to the farmers market in downtown Lafayette. They'll have them every Saturday morning, so it's fun to just go and, meet up with a few friends. You can buy different, sweet treats, coffee. And I would say another thing is I love coffee, so going to different coffee shops is always fun.
Quite a few around here. Which one's your favorite?
So I actually love Cafe Literato. You have to drive to
Okay.
it, but that one is a great atmosphere, and they have really good coffee.
We'll definitely need to check that out. And I was gonna say,
Yes.
I think a lot of students, they do sleep on the downtown Lafayette area, and like I love to go down there. And sometimes we just take photos. Like me and my friends, a few weekends ago, we went to there's like a little railroad over there, and we took
Mhm.
photos there. So I love just going down there to do random stuff.
That's
It's
awesome.
fun,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I enjoy farmers market hopping in the fall as well. You got the one in Lafayette on Saturday. You got the West Lafayette one. If you can get up a couple miles north, you got the West Lafayette one on Wednesday, and then you got the one on campus on Thursday. So you've
Right.
got all the farmers market opportunities to get great food. I personally like the pumpkin bread.
Best thing ever.
I'm
The
a sucker
chocolate
for
chip
baked
pumpkin
goods.
bread. Yes. Me too.
Yeah,
So
I think
good.
farmers markets to get me is cactuses. I tend to buy a lot of cactuses at the farmers market here in Purdue.
Yeah.
Sound like my brother.
There's something for everyone there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say other than that, like I was saying earlier, I love anything outdoors. And that was important to me when going to college. Of course, you want to go somewhere where it's a good fit for you for what you want to do, but also have things around that you like. And we have Celery Bog around here as well as Happy Hollow. So I love going there and just doing a little walk or run and clearing my head. Celery Bog is fun to go with. Just go with a few friends and walk around, and it's very peaceful there. So I would say that's another big thing I like. And if you are someone that's outdoorsy, we don't have those huge mountains or anything, but there's
a ton of nice areas.
Exactly.
I run through Celery Bog, Happy Hollow all the time.
Right.
And one of the cool things in the winter, the lake will freeze in the bog, and you can go and run on the ice. And so we'll do that every once in a while.
Wow, I've never done that, but
Got to be safe about it.
I
Don't go towards the middle.
I was gonna say you won't see me running on
no,
ice.
I will go sledding down Slater Hill here at
Yes.
Purdue, but I don't know if I'm going to be running on it.
Is there a craziest thing you've seen go down Slater Hill?
Oh my gosh, there's always so much. I would say my favorite thing I've seen was there was this like big banana tube almost, and you
Okay.
have like 4 or 5 people on it and just going down the hill.
Yeah, I think mine has to be the
Yeah.
infamous computer.
A computer?
I've never seen that.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
seen mattresses.
I've seen cardboard, the bed of a pickup truck.
Wow.
I heard someone took a door from a bathroom stall and went down it.
I've heard
Don't
that.
don't do that.
Don't
The
do that.
university will
Don't do
not
that.
be happy with you.
Yeah.
And then probably the funnest thing I've gone down on is like, when they give you takeout food at a restaurant and they've got like the aluminum foil lids on the to-go containers. We wrapped those around our feet and they were like little baby skis.
Oh wow.
They went a lot faster than the cardboard.
Did you fall?
Kind of.
Okay. I was
Someone
gonna
ran
say,
into me.
You ski. I don't ski, so I wouldn't even make it down.
Yeah, and so thank you so much, Nikki, for your insights.
Yeah, we have thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. And I guess our final question for you is, what piece of advice do you think you could give to an incoming student about Purdue Engineering and about coming here?
Absolutely. So what I would say is for incoming students, when looking at colleges, looking at Purdue, make sure that in your major they have what you want and what you're looking for. Something that helped me was looking at different courses that you actually take instead of just the major as a whole, because that helped me see like, okay, we're taking a sustainability course, hydraulics, and it helps you just get a sense of what you will be doing in the future.
Yeah.
And I would say once you're here, just make the most of it. You're going to be studying, but make sure you meet new people, you go out to games, join clubs just while you can and have fun. So,
Yeah, that's excellent advice, Nikki.
yeah.
Thank you. That concludes this week's episode. As always, please reach out to the Office of Future Engineers if you have any further questions.
Yep, and we will see you next week.